to notice us. Couldn't you cough? I haven't got a cough. Oh, they're looking at us. What effrontery. They're approaching. Very bold. But we will not be the first to speak? Certainly not. Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Lady, come down. Come down. Lady, come down. The western wind is blowing clear across the dark Aegean Sea and
This dignified silence seems to produce a most unpleasant effect. A most distasteful one. But we will not be the first to speak. Certainly not. Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to ask. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, I have but one question to ask you. Why did you come here and pretend to be my guardian's brother?
in order that I might have an opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly sounds satisfactory, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
Well, I don't. That does not take away from the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True. In matters of sincerity, grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what possible explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it so that you might come up to town as often as possible to see me?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts on the subject, but I intend to crush them. Now is not the time for German skepticism. Their answers seem to me to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to have the scent of truth on it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief has said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute confidence.
So you think that we should forgive them?
Yeah. I mean, no.
True, I had forgotten there are principles at stake that cannot be surrendered. Which of us should tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Why not both speak at the same time?
Ah, an excellent idea. I almost always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time for me? Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? But we are to be christened this afternoon.
Oh, for me, you are prepared to do this terrible thing.
I am.
For my sake, you are willing to undergo this fearful ordeal?
I am.
How absurd it is to talk about the equality of the sexes. Where matters of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of physical courage which we women know nothing about.
Ah, Ernest.
Cecily.
Lady Bracknell!
What does this mean? Merely that I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come.
Sit down! Sit down immediately!
Hesitation of any kind is a sign of physical weakness and the early of mental decay in the elder. Pray, sir, my daughter's son's life by her trusty maid, whose confidence I bought by means of a small coin. I falter at her at once by love strain. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to say, under the impression that she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture on the influence of permanent income on thought. I tend to undeceive him. In fact, I have never undeceived him on any point. But you must understand, Mr. Worthing, that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as in all points, I am firm.
But I am engaged to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
Nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards Algernon? Algernon!
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend Mr. Bunbury lives?
Bunbury? No, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury loves somewhat quite a... in fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? Oh, did he die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, yes, I killed poor Bunbury this afternoon. Bunbury died this afternoon.
Did he die? Oh.
Bunbury? Oh, he was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he a victim of a revolutionary outrage? I had no idea Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If he was properly punished for his morbidity.
That's not what I mean, Aunt Augusta. I merely mean he was found out. The doctors found out that he couldn't live, so he died. That's what I
It seems to me to have great confidence in his physicians. I'm glad he finally made up his mind and acted under proper medical advice. However, now that we've finally gotten rid of this Mr. Bunbury, Mr. Worthing, who is this young person whose hand my nephew Algernon seems to be holding in what seems to me to be a particularly unnecessary manner?
This young lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
Cecily and I are engaged to be married.
There seems to be nothing particularly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire. Indeed, the number of engagements that go on seem to me to be well above the proper average, considerably down for our guidance. Some preliminary inquiry on my part is not out of place. Mr. Worthing, may I ask if Miss Cardew is in any way connected to any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea there were any families or persons whose origin was terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew, of 149 Belgrave Square, South-West, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Spoor and Fifeshire NB.
Sounds not unsatisfactory. Your addresses always inspires confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
I have carefully preserved the court guides in the period. They are open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I've known some strange airs in that publication.
Ah, but Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, Markby, and Markby.
Markby. One of the very highest positions in their profession. Indeed, I'm told one of the Mr. Markbys is sometimes seen at dinner parties. So far, I'm satisfied.
How very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. I have also, you will be pleased to hear, records of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, confirmation, vaccination, and the measles, both the German and the English variety.
I like college institutes. I myself am not in favor of premature experiences. It gives one far too much to think about. Oh, come on, Gwendolyn, the time approaches for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I must ask if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
No, about £130,000 in funds, that is all. Good day, Lady Bracknell.
A moment, Mr. Worthing! £130,000! And in the funds! Oh, Miss Cardew seems to be a most attractive young lady. Indeed, there are very few girls about her that have any real qualities, those that last and improve with time. Come here, dear. Come here. Oh, pretty child. Your dress is sadly simple, and your hair is almost as nature might have left it. But a thoroughly experienced French maid can alter all of that. I once advised one to Lady Lansing, and within 3 months her own husband didn't know her.
And within 6 months, no one knew her.
Turn around, Jack. No, the side view is what I want. As I suspected, there are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The two things wanting in our age are the want of principle and the want of profile. A little higher, dear. The style is largely regulated on how the chin is worn, and they're worn very high at present. Oh. Algernon, there are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the sweetest, dearest girl in the whole world, and I don't give thanks for social possibilities.
Algernon, how dare you speak ill of society? Only people who can get in do that. Now, dear, you must understand that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend on. I do not believe in mercenary marriages. I myself had not a penny to my name when I married Lord Bracknell. I did not let that stop me. However, I must give my consent for your marriage.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
And you may call me Aunt Augusta from now on.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage must take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Especially, I do not approve of long engagements. They give one time to get to know each other's character before marriage, which is never advisable.
I hate to interrupt, Lady Bracknell. I feel I must inform you that, as I am Miss Cardew's guardian, she is not allowed to marry without my consent until she comes of age. and that consent I expressly refuse to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, if not ostentatiously, eligible young man. As nothing, but he looks everything. What more could one desire?
It pains me to speak the truth to you, Lady Bracknell, but I must say that I have questions about your nephew's moral character. I believe him to be untruthful.
Untruthful, my nephew, Algernon. That's impossible. He's not so.
I'm afraid there can be no doubt about the subject. For you see, while I was in London this afternoon on a most important question of romance, your nephew gained entrance to my house under the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I have just been told by my butler, an entire bottle of Perrier Joie Brut 89, wine I've been especially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon of alienating the affections of my one and only ward, and subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he knew from the first that I have no brother, that I have never had a brother, and that I never intend on having a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
After long deliberation, I decided to completely overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
How very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unaltered.
Come here, dear. How old are
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 at evening parties.
you? You're exactly right, dear. One should not always be so exact about one's age, especially being a woman. But it's so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties. But soon you'll be of age and free from the restraints of tutelage. So your guardian's consent is really of no matter in this instance.
I hate to contradict you, Lady Bracknell, but according to her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come of age until she is 35.
35. Well, 35. It's a very attractive age, 35. Indeed, there are many women of the very highest birth in life who've maintained 35 for years. Templeton, for example, has been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40. Years and years ago now. Who's to say Cecily will not be just as attractive at the age that you mentioned she is now? There'll be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me till I was 35?
I could, Cecily. You know I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively. But I could not wait all that time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It makes me rather cross. I'm not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in other people. I'm afraid waiting, even to be married, is quite out of the question.
Then what's to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Monk.
Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait until she is 35, a statement which I think shows her to be particularly impatient, I would beg you to reconsider.
But you see, Lady Bracknell, the decision is entirely in your hands. For the moment you consent to my marriage to Gwendolyn, I will gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
You must understand that what you're asking is completely out of the question.
I'm afraid a passionate celibacy is all any of us have to look forward to.
That is not the destiny I intend for my Gwendolyn. Algernon can choose for himself. Gwendolyn Count, we've already missed 5, if not 6 trains. Any more will have comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
That's somewhat premature.
Expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
There, it's grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I would never approve of this way that you spend your time and money.
So, am I to understand that there will be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I'm afraid that as things are now, Dr. Chospool, it would not be of much use to either of us.
Mr. Worthing, I am grieved to hear such sentiments from you. They savor the heretical views of the Anabaptists.
views I have completely refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. As your mood seems to be peculiarly secular, I will return to the church at once, where I've just been informed by my pew opener that Miss Prism has been waiting there for me for the last hour and a half.
Excuse me, let me detain you for a moment. Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell. I am on my way to join her.
Right, let me detain you. Is this Miss Prism a woman of refutable aspect who is remotely connected with education?
Miss Prism is the most cultivated of ladies and the very picture of respectability.
Obviously the same person. What position does she hold in your household?
I'm celibate, madam.
Miss Prism is and has been for the past 3 years Cecily's esteemed governess and valued companion.
Well, in spite of what I hear of her, I need to speak with her. Let her be sent for.
She approaches.
As I told you, expected me in the vestry, dear Kennan. I've been waiting for you there for an hour and 3/4. Prism? Prism, come here! Prism, where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left that on Lord Bracknell in my house, number 104, Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of preambulator that contained a baby of the male sex, and you never returned. Upon a 2-week investigation by the Metropolitan Police, the preambulator turned up by itself in a remote corner of Bayswater, but it contained a 3-volume novel of the most grotesque humor. But the baby was not there. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame that I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts are these. On the morning which you mention, a day which is forever branded in my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I also had with me a somewhat large and capacious handbag in which I had intended to place a work of fiction I had written in my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, which I can never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
Where did you leave said handbag, Miss Prism?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, I must know where you left that handbag. It's a matter of some great importance.
In the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
Which railway station?
Victoria! The Brighton line!
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolyn, wait for me.
If you are not too long, I will wait here all my life.
Pray, what do you think this means, Lady Bracknell?
I dare not say. Coincidences in the upper households are not considered a thing.
Uncle Joe seems strangely agitated.
Sounds as if you were having an argument. I detest arguments. They're often loud and very convincing.
It has stopped now.
I wish you would come to a decision.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Miss Prism, is this the handbag? Consider it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
Yes, it seems to be mine. Yes, here's the injury received through the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in happier days. And here, on the lining, is a stain caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage. Happened at Leamington. And here on the lock are my initials. I'd forgotten in the extravagant mood I'd had them placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I am delighted to have it so unexpectedly returned to me. It's been a great inconvenience being without it.
Miss Prism, more has been returned to you than this handbag. For I was the baby who placed it.
You?
Yes, Mother!
Mr. Wooding!
Unmarried? Well, that is quite a blow. But cannot an act of forgiveness wipe out an act of folly? Why should there be one law for men and one for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Mr. Worthing, there has been some error. That is the woman who can tell you who you truly are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to seem inquisitive. But could you tell me who I am?
I'm afraid the answer may not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and therefore Algernon's elder brother.
Just elder brother? I always knew I had a brother. Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. And you young scoundrel, you'll have to treat me with more respect from now on. You've not treated me like a brother a day in your life.
Well, not till today at least. I have to practice. I'll try my best.
Oh, Ernest, my own Ernest. But now that you have another name, what is your Christian name?
I've forgotten that fact. Lady Bracknell, I hate to bother you once again, but at the time when I was misplaced, had I been christened already?
Of course, your parents were very fortunate.
Well, what was her name?
Because you were the eldest, you were naturally named after your father.
Yes, but what was his Christian name?
I don't quite remember the general's Christian name. Well, I'm sure he had one. He was a bit of an eccentric, but that was in later years, and that was due to indigestion, gout, and marriage, and all that sort of thing.
Algy, can't you recollect our father's Christian name?
My dear fellow, we were never even on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
His name would appear in the army list of the period, would it not, Aunt Augusta?
The general was essentially a man of peace, except for in his domestic life. However, I'm sure his name would appear in any military directory.
Well, the army records of the past 40 years, I hear. These marvelous books should have been my constant study. Now, let's see. General was 1869. Oh, what ghastly names they have. Moncrief, McCain, Moncrief. Here we are. General was 18... Christian names. Ernest John. I almost told you my name was Ernest, didn't I? Well, turns out that it is Ernest. It is naturally Ernest.
Ah, Ernest, I knew from the very source that you could have no other name.
Now I remember his name was Earnest. I knew there was a particular reason I disliked that name.
Gwendolyn, it is very hard for a man to suddenly discover that he's been telling nothing but the truth his whole life. Would you ever forgive me?
I can, for I fear that you are sure to change.
My own.
Oh,
Oh, Letitia, at last.
Frederick, at last!
Seriously, at last.
Gwendolyn, at last.
My nephew, you seem to me to be showing signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I have just discovered the vital importance of being earnest.